President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, has announced that a new U.S. proposal granting Ukraine access to critical minerals differs significantly from an earlier draft. Speaking at a press briefing in Kyiv, Zelensky revealed that the new framework formally submitted to his office would be compared with previous discussions involving Deputy Prime Minister Yulia Svirdenko and U.S. officials. He emphasized that the framework had changed and Ukraine would review it before proceeding with further talks. Additionally, Zelensky reiterated Ukraine's stance that previously approved U.S. military aid should not be considered loans requiring repayment, despite the country's gratitude for the support. This statement comes amidst tensions with Washington following a rift with President Trump, which led to a suspension of U.S. military assistance and intelligence sharing. This is what the Ukrainian president said.
Документ. Там багато всього, про що не йшлося. А також з'явились деякі речі, які, ну, скажімо так, раніше сторони відкидували вже. Так? І тому цей документ, я не хочу, ви знаєте, так, піднімати нову хвилю, тому що я дуже хочу, щоб ми отримали конкретну рецензію юристів на найвищому рівні.
Daniel Wagner, CEO of Country Risk Solution, is joining us live from Colorado, United States of America. Thank you for being with us, Daniel. It seems that the minerals deal between the U.S. and Ukraine has hit a new roadblock.
Indeed, it has. And I think the biggest issue here is that the goalposts seem to be constantly shifting. Zelensky thought he had a deal, certainly in principle, with the White House a week or so ago. And now it appears that when they're getting down to the nitty-gritty, the Americans want to change the terms a little bit, and that's not so attractive to Zelensky and Ukraine. One of the concerns here is how acceding to American requests or demands would affect its relationship with other countries, most notably in the EU. We should bear in mind that Ukraine prizes its relationships with the EU countries as much as it does the US, maybe even more, because of its proximity and its hope to join the EU sooner rather than later. One question then is, what impact would this deal have on that? This would be in direct competition with EU nations who perhaps may also seek access to those minerals. It may also impact the perception that the US is being favored over the EU in political and economic terms, and that creates more competition between the US and the EU. So it's a multifaceted issue, and I don't know if the Americans have paid sufficient attention to all of that, but it certainly adds a lot more pressure to Zelensky.
Absolutely. What do you believe it is about this redrafted agreement that Ukraine is upset about or not happy about, which is why they're saying their lawyers are reassessing things?
Well, I don't blame them. I mean, it's like if you were engaging in a business transaction and the goalpost was constantly shifting, how would you feel? You'd begin to wonder if you even want to do business with those people. So that's the basic issue. I think the real concern here is just how much can Ukraine afford to give. One of the concerns also is that it already derives more than $1 billion a year in its annual budget from rental agreements being granted already to other entities who are utilizing its minerals or extracting its minerals. So what impact would this have on them? I think the Ukrainians must be feeling like their arm is being twisted behind their back by the Americans to the breaking point, and it's getting close to breaking. So they're not going to be able to say yes to everything that America is asking for now.
Okay. Let me also ask you, Daniel, about what kind of impact all of this is going to have on the mediation efforts, the efforts to bring about a truce between Russia and Ukraine by the US.
Again, this is part of the whole equation and part of the pressure being put on the Ukrainians by the Americans. Zelensky needs to have some degree of confidence that the Americans are indeed behind him, that the funds are going to continue, that the military equipment is going to continue until and unless there's a peace agreement. And if this goalpost is constantly shifting and the Americans are constantly asking for new things and more things, how much confidence can he have? If he doesn't have confidence, how does he go into the peace negotiation with any degree of confidence? He doesn't. And in the meantime, we know that Mr. Putin is continuing to add additional pressure into the equation, and he doesn't seem too eager to go into peace negotiations to begin with. He's certainly not in a hurry. Have to be achieved here. The Americans, Ukrainians, and it's the right time for a serious discussion.
When do you believe this deal could be signed then, Daniel?
You know, the truth is no one knows. I would hope it would be in April. I think that would be the soonest. It's certainly not going to be in the next few days. I wouldn't be surprised if this drags on. I mean, if the Trump administration continues to change the terms of the proposed agreement, this could go on for quite some time.
Daniel Wagner, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on that big story. We're moving on now. Rescue efforts at the